Tonight we are going to be discussing a couple different topics. I will preempt the show as I did last week to explain for anybody who might be new to my show that we had lost the original archives from the first almost 2.5 years worth of shows. And so we, as a group, decided that my members really wanted to have them back again. And now that I'm with Soma Fusion, I am redoing those topics so that they're recovered. So not only new folks can see them, but also to have a chance to have them safely archived and available for people to watch replays of, etc. So these are topics that I presented, a few years ago in some cases, but there have been a lot of new members joining in the rebuild of the group, and so they've never seen this show. And for those who have, well, it's a nice refresher course. So I also have here going in my eyes, sorry for that, monitor chat in my group, which is where anybody who's responding anywhere else through Soma Fusion or watching it anywhere else, it will show up in that chat as well. So the audience is a big part of the show. I'm kind of lost without them, like it would feel wrong. So let me pop open that feed and say hi to anybody coming in. No one's here yet. No, we got a couple people. All right, so I'm just going to do a heart to let people know I'm acknowledging them as they are entering. There we are. So yeah, tonight we are recovering shamanism and the Indigo Children, probably touch a little bit on Crystal and Rainbow Children as well. Those two were never covered separately because they just never got voted on to cover them. However, they kind of all interplay together. So I do want to kind of, I guess, mention the time frames of who is supposed to come in when and so forth with the Indigo Children. But it's predominantly going to just be about the Indigos. So we will wait for anybody and everyone to show up into the feed, and hopefully no one has any problems. And then we will get started, as always. Cat hair sticking to me. Hey there, Miss Chris. You are the first one in here. Welcome. Over there. So, I have issues tonight with cat hair everywhere on me. I've got my own hair stabbing me in the eye. You are, yes. You even beat both the Sandys in as well, which is unusual. Usually at least one of them comes in first, but not tonight. You got this, girl. Not that we haven't been talking all day anyway, right? And so for anybody who happens to be watching this, there was a little bit of an issue with the feed streaming stuff. So I did put an announcement in the group already, but in case anyone didn't read the announcements, that we are, if you have trouble watching in the show of the group or in a group for the show, go over to Katie's page on Facebook, and her last name is Katie Kamara. That's her full name. Look her up on there. You can see it on there as well until she has a chance to get it shared out everywhere after the show is done. So just as an FYI. And there's my lovely admin, Miss Sandy. Oh, Lord, Chris, they were tumbling and rumbling earlier. Something fierce. It was horrible. I just got done explaining that to Katie and hoping that they don't start that up again during the show. Hey, Stacy. How are you, beautiful? And there's the other Sandy. My lovelies. So for now, they're all quiet in there, and I gave them their own bowl of dry food and water to minimize how much they might cross the room and risk little girl's wrath in attacking them. Hopefully she'll just fall asleep in there and kind of not be aware of them creeping around. They just don't understand boundaries. They don't have that with their family outside. Their created family, they work together to hang out and survive, and little girl does not cooperate well. Hey, beautiful Tanya. So at any rate, for now, it's quiet. Let's hope it stays that way. Fingers crossed. Absolutely. So I'm going to, now that everyone's wandering in, go ahead and do the sage blessing and protection everybody likes me to do. Fire it out there for Sandy. Out, hot. Don't hurt yourself. All right. So with this sage, I cast a circle of protection around everyone who is in the group watching the show, anyone outside of Facebook who is watching it as well over on YouTube. Thank you. I appreciate your views and your support. And may this protection protect everyone from any ill will or harm and keep them safe on the outside of the show in their private and personal lives as well. That everyone stay well. Hey, beautiful Natalie. So I will it. So mote it be. There we go. Put that up there. Let that continue to do its thing. Welcome, Angelica. This is your first show. You're very welcome, Sandy. Yep, Angelica just joined the group this week, so show her some love. I told her that we are naturally like that anyway, which we are. So hope you enjoy it. And great to see you again as well, Natalie. And hope you are well too. So yeah, tonight we are recovering the shamanism topic as well as, but the witchcraft was the next one online, but we've done that a few times now. So I figured that y'all kind of got the gist and basics down a bit by now. And I do believe that one is saved in the archives. So I'm just kind of skipped ahead of that one and going to do shamanism and indigo children tonight. Touch a little bit on the crystal and rainbow children as well and go from there. But we last covered the shamanism topic back in February of 2019. So it's been a hot minute since we've gotten to it. So we're going to do it up tonight. Let me put this somewhere safe from kitties grabbing it. Little girl broke my other full-size file size rubber band that I used to bookmark things, tie things shut, whatever. She's a thief when it comes to those, and she runs off. So I got one left. She's not having it. She's not out here with me anyway. She's lying in wait in the other room. Hey, Miss Marianne. How are ya? Yeah, this one, it said something about magic on the front. I think it was like believe in magic or make your own magic, something to that effect. And I liked it, so guts it. But I had to, because of the nature, kind of plastic nature of the cover, I had to handwrite out and tape on the topic list for the index. Because normally I write it on the outside cover for easy access to when I'm looking for a specific show to reference. But I can't do it this one. It's all right. It works. It's my MacGyver mode. So hopefully all of you are all well out there and had a decent weekend. Those in the Northeast hopefully did not get smothered in snow. It just skirted by me, but I could definitely feel its impact around me. Was pretty rough shape the other night, so I felt it, but we didn't get hit with it here, just the cold. Yes, exactly, Sandy. You remember it. And I used to kind of always say it at the end of the show. You got running comment under me. Oh, yeah. That's normally there, actually, I think. I don't know. Might be a setting that Katie puts on. Or Zoom, because that's what we get. She records on the Zoom and then sends me out to the ether. Supposed to get, yeah, I saw that, Tanya, that about it getting bad out in the Midwest area. Hi, Mary. How are you? You are here. We got the cold for sure, but it didn't snow. I think we maybe got some flurries here, and that was it out of this big ass nor'easter storm. You didn't get any snow. Good. Yes, I think maybe just missed you as well, but everybody else I heard got hammered, and I'm glad we didn't, because it's such a horrible thing for me to dig out of, but the cold killed my battery again. I swear I'm gonna like have put their kids through freaking the first year of college at this point, or put braces on their kids' teeth with the tow truck company coming and jump starting this truck. So do the CC and you can get rid of the closed caption. Oh, you mean touch the screen for that? Yes, yes. And I've been going out like every other day to jumpstart it, or to, let it run and warm up. And apparently it wasn't frequent enough. You got over a foot of snow. Ugh. Well, at least it's not the 2 feet. And I don't know. Actually, Katie didn't say if she got any in DC. I haven't seen any reports on, who got what, but heard everybody got slammed. Those who did get hit, it was like, I don't know, a handful of millions of people got out of power from it. I'm on this one because I got confused. No, it's fine, Mary. You get confused. We get confused with your new profile stuff, and we're kind of like, wait, what? Mary Beth who? So anyway, shamanism. Let's get rocking this puppy out. Whoever else wanders in can wander in as they always do. And they can always watch the replay for anything they missed along the way. We know how that works. So it's not going to stay. Okay. So again, we first covered this February 11th of 2019, and it was actually the 13th episode from the new show. So it was still in that new stage back then. I'm getting sleep and snow. So means black ice. Yeah, that's bad when you don't normally get it, and then people can't drive, and they forget what they're doing, and yeah, they go in panic mode whenever it does any precipitation down south anyway. But nice. I remember when I first moved to Maryland on the DC border, it was like March when we moved down there. And the first snowfall they had down there, everyone's standing outside, staring up at the sky and congregating in the parking lot, oohing and eyeing over it. And I'm like, just a few flurries, people. When upstate New York, that was nothing. But when you never see it, I suppose it's a marvel. I'm good if I never see another snowflake for the rest of my life. Ever, 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 ever. I'm good. So hopefully everyone stays safe down where you're at, Chris. I know they won't, not everyone, but another storm on Thursday or Friday. Well, isn't that delightful, Stacy? That's great. I'm over it. I really am. Winter can go back, and Imbolc is coming too soon. So that means, the beginning of the ending of winter and coming of spring. But me too, Tanya. Me too. I'm good if I never see it again. So a shaman is defined as a person regarded as having access to and influence in the world of good and evil spirits, especially among some people of Northern Asia and North America. It's more common now to not having to just be localized in North America to the indigenous population. It's something that you kind of have a calling towards to do, you just know. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. There is formalized training for it, but it's you're driven to do it. Did you notice it's been a year already since we got new Facebook? I know I did not notice that, Sandy. Wow. Hi, Carl. I don't know what it is you're saying because it's showing up in a different language for me. I don't know if there's any way to translate that over to English either, so I'm not sure what it is you're saying, and I apologize, but it's showing up in my comments as another language that I don't know. So if you can put it into English, that would help us to know what you're talking about. Whatever it is you're kind of sad about, though. And hopefully it's not spam. Okay. Yeah, I had no idea. So I just saw the thing that says number on there, and I was like, probably could be spam. And I just got kicked out. Open that back up again. 1 second, guys. This happens every show where I get booted out of the group feed. And comments would be great. Where'd my comments go? That doesn't do me much good if I can't see you guys. Here, let me close out. 1 second. I apologize. Sometimes my Wi-Fi signal gets a little bit wonky out here in the middle of nowhere land, small town USA, and it can waver or get a hiccup and then it kicks me out, which is what happens. So let me, hopefully when I reopen it, we will get comments back again. No, not yet. Oh, wait, there we go. I won't be able to see anything you made while I was kicked out, but because it just starts them back over again, which is kind of dumb, but hopefully I'll see what everybody says from now. So, okay, must be just a repositioning. I heard movement in there. So, don't fight. So typically people enter kind of like a trance-like state during a ritual, and they can practice divination and healing there. Now, I was trained as a medicine woman starting out my path 30 years ago now. I don't have to enter into a trance-like state at this point in order to receive any information, communicate with the other side, etc., do any sort of healing stuff. My gifts have evolved since then. Originally, yes, we used to call it going away when we would do it, because you're going away in your head and getting in touch. But I don't have to do that anymore. You guys have all seen me do that in different shows and stuff where I've talked to them and, oh, wait, there's my, okay, sorry. I got excited because I got my chat back. Okay. Oh, asking me for money because he had no job. Great. Well, that's always awesome, special. Somebody named Ralph. I don't see Ralph. Yeah, it's not going to let me scroll back, but hi, Ralph. So the scholar Minka Iliad cited shamanic abilities, among others, as reading thoughts, clairvoyance, spirit interaction, to name a few of the things that they do. Shamans have also been called wounded healers because it's quite common of a great struggle within themselves. They tend to have broken free from their issues in best case scenario, like they've gone and done their shadow work inside of themselves and have kind of gone forward. Now, more people nowadays use the wounded healer to indicate those who have not done the internal work on themselves to get themselves to a better headspace before going out to help others. However, in terms of the shamanic stuff, yes, you've kind of already done that and have broken free from your issues and then can go on to help others, which is always the preferred state of being anyway. However, many people don't do that process first. Welcome back, Miss Sandy. So there are 10 signs of one having like a shamanic calling. And if you believe that this might be true for you, you can give yourself 1 point for each of the following. And if they apply to you, if not, don't give yourself a point, obviously. There, hopefully it won't spill. All right, so the first one is most won't understand what's happening to them and so can feel overwhelmed by fear. 1 point if that fits you. You can feel a strong connection to nature. Shamans understand the true web of life idea, and it makes sense, and you resonate in there. You can feel the energies working together of all things, and it's a sensing and a knowing of those things. Number 2 is you enjoy solitude and find it hard to fit in with others. Shamans could never fit in because they act like a bridge between this world and that which is unseen. That's our norm. We walk on both sides of the fence. Amongst witchcraft practitioners, that's also known as a hedge witch, in order to where you know, back in the day, hedgerows were used to separate properties, etc. So if you were a hedge witch, you walked on the line of the hedge in between both sides. So there's equal comfort with doing either one. I do walk and talk to them as equally as I talk to you all. There's not really a difference for me. Yes, 1 point, cool. So number 3, you've experienced a near death out of body or mystical experience. So give yourself a point for that if that applies. To be a shaman, you must experience a complete, quote, death and a rebirth, to which can often present itself as a temporary illness or shocking crisis of some kind that kind of jumpstarts you on the path where it doesn't have to be like, oh, I almost died from this, but it most often is. Like I almost died in this car accident, and this is the end result of that. Or I was deathly ill with X, Y, or Z that I wasn't expected to survive, but I did, and I came out of it, and now I have this ability. So by overcoming and healing from it, a shaman to be kind of surrenders all they know in a true kind of like whatever wisdom, giving over to the universe of whatever wisdom they're meant to learn. Who just came out of hiding? Is it little girl? Baby, yes, please come up. There you go. Play nice and stay in here with me. And I will even make room for you up here so that you're not behind me where I can't see you. So number 4, give yourself a point for that if that fits. And number 4, you've been able to feel a subtle healing energy within your hands. Now, this is like one of the oldest first things I ever did, energetically speaking, to kind of show myself that one can feel energy balls. So holding your hands close together and you move them apart. Now, when you go to put them back together slowly, you can feel an energetic vibration between your hands as if you're holding something and there's some resistance there. That at its core is energy. And we can make it however big we want it to be or small, and you can send it out to other people who might need an energetic boost. You can use it defensively if you need to, and that's your preferred method. How about you lay down and you be a nice kitty and stop worrying about what they're doing in there? That would be super of you. Yes, mind your own business, in other words, bully girl. Just saying. So that's one way, like the simplest way to feel that energy is a real thing. I needed to help me stop being exhausted and depressed today. You can even do it for yourself, Angelica, by doing that with your hands and feeling that in there. And then once you get the shape of it and you feel it, then you suck it back into yourself, and that's how you recharge yourself. And in that way, you're kind of drawing from the energy of the environment around you and the earth energy. I'm glad that helped you. So many shamans are born with a capacity to act as masters of living energy. Anything organic is sentient living energy. Again, the earth energy, which is around us in the environment. We can feel it and sense it. And anyone who knows me knows I do that with you guys all the time, where I'll check in on you energetically to tell how you're feeling that day. And I'm usually spot on with it. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm saying, like, I'm really wrong on what I'm picking up from you. And that's me sensing where you're at for the day. So I do that. They can control and manipulate energy within their own and others' bodies, which would be kind of sending out an energy boost to someone or healing energy to somebody who needs it. Carrying healing energy will almost always feel warm to the touch and may even at times feel subtle energy emanating from you. Hi, Miss Kim. So give yourself a point if you can do that. Number 5, you have the ability to read others, quote unquote. So people with shamanic calling often report psychic gifts or other paranormal experiences happening around them. They may not fully understand what they're dealing with, but it still happens a lot. And yeah, sometimes it's location specific. You know, you're in a certain house that has other beings living there with you, but it's not just in like a one location type thing. You notice stuff all around you. You're in tune, is what I kind of call it or consider it. So give yourself a point for that. How about you plant it, little girl, because you love me and you stop worrying what they're doing and not doing in there because they're not bothering you. So don't be a bully. This is your castle. We know that, but you need to share. Just saying. You are not going to take off and go charging anybody. So stop. Because I have a big squirt bottle with your name on it. So be aware. I'm going to pull it out to where it's visible to you to recognize that, hey, do you see this? Hey, do you see this? That is you. If you get going, I will squirt your fanny. Don't think I won't. I mean it. Be nice. Sorry, guys. She's sitting there all tail twitchy and like watching them, and I see you, and I'm like, don't be evil. The bully culprit here. Come on, up out of the way a bit. So give yourself a point if that fits you. You'll have the ability to read others. So people with shamanic calling, like I said, they report psychic gifts, paranormal activity. They may be able to see what illness someone has or a spiritual obstacle in your way that's kind of preventing you from growing. I will squirt you. Don't you even. Yeah, go hide under the clothes rack so you can ambush them in the kitchen. Special cat, isn't she? Hi, Jasper. Welcome. Glad to have you. Sorry, I have a cat drama happening here at my house. Most of the group is aware, but there's a feral cat colony on my porch. 2 of them have some socialization, and they've been coming in out of the brutal cold, and I've been letting them because it's brutally cold out. They don't bother anybody, but they don't have appropriate boundaries because they live cooperatively with each other out there, and where cats typically don't. But my cat's a bully, and she will go after them and provoke and start stuff unnecessarily, which I have no tolerance for. I'm just saying. So if you hear me, my cat's little girl, that's who I'm yelling at for those who are new. So yeah. So we are doing kind of a little self checklist right now, Jasper, of giving yourself 1 point if these fit you. If it doesn't, that's okay. It's not a right or wrong thing. It's more just helping identify do you have like shamanistic tendencies with yourself. So the person might be able to see what illness someone has or spiritual obstacles that might be in the way that they need to overcome to further evolve along their path. So that would be another point for that. Number 6, you have ancestors who were healers or medicinal herbalists. Many believes that this is a gift that can be passed down through the generations, where it's just like with psychic gifts. A lot of those follow like most frequently a maternal pathway through the family, but it can come from the father's side as well. So it's just an awareness that, hey, this runs in my family, and oh, look at that, I got it. So 1 point for that. Number 7, you have vivid or prophetic dreams. Some are born with a natural ability to travel between the realms and bring back information or see visions of the future in their dream state. We have a few people in the group who that's how they get their information is their dream time, and they don't experience much in the waking life, but dream time, that's where their stuff comes through. So nothing wrong with that. 1 point for that. Number 8, you are visited by spirit animals. Spirit animals act as guides and protectors, and they share vital information whenever we require their help. They can be protectors as needed if you're doing something that is to help others, or if you're on a kind of mission quest, if you will, going looking for information, whatever. They're there to help you and keep you safe from any negative impact of anything that you might encounter along the way, or someone bothering you outside coming in. They're there to act as a shield. I dream of bread falling from the sky last night. What does the bread represent to you, Natalie? because I promote that all the time with dream interpretation. It's symbolic for you. And so what that represents to you is more important than a textbook definition of, someone else coming and telling you what your dreams are. It's an individual thing. So you have to figure that out for you, of what the main theme of it is symbolic of for you, because it's not going to be the same for everyone. Oh, I've been pondering it all day. Well, what does bread represent to you? Abundance. It could be um, memories of home, of fresh baked bread, that type of thing. I mean, it could be a number of things, but it would be for you to kind of figure out what bread means to you, and then why it would be falling from the sky. Yeah, what kind of bread too could probably also play in. So number 8, if the spirit animals, if that is a regular thing or you're aware of them, then give yourself a point. Number 9, you see things others can't. You are accessing other dimensions, and you can start at an early age and have to be open-minded enough to receive such information and understand, which we've talked a lot about in different times, that, in the dream state, you can travel, you can tap into past life experiences, you can go to other places, you have other, that saying, so above, so below, is a valid thing. That what happens here, we still have connections on the other side that we're close with and we know of and we go do things with. So you can be tuning into any of that when you go to sleep each night. Yeah, give it some thought and see if you can figure it out. Hungry in your sleep could be one too. Yeah. You dreamt about a white owl. What about the white owl, Sandy? And what does that represent for you? So 1 point for that one. And also with the seeing things others can't see, it's resulted in many shamans being labeled as mentally ill and or medicated for in years past. How about play nice little girls? Stop worrying about what they're doing, because they're not doing anything. So don't go prowling. Back in the day, it was common for, and I'm not at all negating the fact that schizophrenia is a valid mental health issue. Absolutely, it is. However, there are those that were labeled with schizophrenia who really weren't. They had gifts and they got misperceived and labeled and locked away because of it. I think the spider post must have bothered me. I dreamt of spiders. Oh, that could be. You were bothered by that. Absolutely, you were. You felt like freedom. So that the white owl might be represent a guide for you, even. Little girl, I swear I'm going to get you with the squirt bottle and drown you if you don't stop. Just let them be. They are not hurting you. They're just sitting up on top of the bunch of boxes in there, not moving. They're not getting up. They're not coming at you. They're not bothering you getting into your stuff. So stop worrying. So saith I. So, that would be for you to tune into, Sandy, to see, is that the case? Like, get into kind of a semi-meditative state and ask and see what answer you get back and trust what you get. Yeah, she was bothered by that conversation on the spider stuff in book group chat. So number 10, you have physical abnormalities that set you apart, like special, unusual birthmarks, extra fingers or toes. Could be a purity thing too. Could be. Hey, Miss Karen, how are you, sister? It's when you think about the art of palm reading, it's not uncommon that they say that certain marks that you have on your finger can indicate healer's marks. Certain way your lines are set up, that only people who are in that realm have those types of marks, and not everybody does have them, but it can be an indicator for something that you might have as far as gifts. So 1 point for that as well. You feel a calling to help heal or ease suffering in others. Whenever a shaman sees suffering, they feel a strong desire to heal it in order to establish the lost harmony in the web of life. Everything is about balance in the universe. Y'all have heard me say that a dozen times. So when something is out of balance, you know it, you feel it, and you want to fix it to make it better. Now, that said, we can't always fix it ourselves. It has to sometimes come from an individual within themselves doing the work. And if they're not willing to, we can't control that. But we still feel the pull and the urge to want to help and fix it. So, how did everybody do overall? Karen should be back from vacation in 23 days. Well, good. We miss her. So, did anybody have, like, there was a total of 11 things. So, how many came close to 11 in points? Who are keeping track? You got 6. Cool. And not, you may not have every single one of them, but still have that pull to be a healer of a certain kind. I'm not a physical healer that's not my nature, but I do help people with spiritual stuff, teachings, understanding, comprehension, but also emotional and as well as energetic work too. So lost track. You got 10. Cool. She might bring tequila to the party. And then you guys can go back to having your late people in the corner party thing that you used to do. Three, but I didn't hear them all. No, you did not. And you can always watch the replay if you're interested. You got about 8 or 9. Cool. And, those people who got a higher number, it may not mean that you're going to go out and become a shaman and undertake that, but it may mean that you would end up working or being drawn to work in a job where you're helping others. That is a strong desire you have for human service of whatever kind. And it doesn't have to be some grand and glorious position, but anything that's helping another human being is a purpose that you're drawn to. So shamanism is a spirituality that's experienced. It's not really thought about or theorized on. It's something that it's of a separate realm that people either are open-minded enough to consider or not. Crap, I'm probably one of them. Yes, you very well could be. Hi, Miss Faith. How are you? Imaginable couch in the corner. Exactly. Uh-oh, did I lose the feed, Katie? Pictures just switched on me. Let me switch back. If it lets me. Odd. There I am. Okay. Let me know if you guys lost me in the feed. I don't know what's going on. The picture switched views, so that's unusual. It never does that. Yeah, I almost went for sociology. Sociology is difficult because there are parts of it that are extraneously boring. I had to take those courses in college too, and it depends on the teacher presenting them. But yeah, some of them are kind of snoozy. So good on your end. Good. Okay, I might have just been a weird glitchy thing on my tablet. Who knows? But as long as I maintain the feed, we're good. It's nice to be seen, Mary. 2 points, definitely not shamanistic. And that's okay, Chris. It's not something that everyone is going to be by any means. It's just something that certain people are drawn to be, or they're chosen for that because those skill sets are recognized in others. Just like it's part of someone, when you have gifts, you're able to identify someone else's gifts. It's just part of our knowing. We know that stuff. We can call it out and we're right. And so it's the same idea as that. All good on Katie's side. Okay. Yeah, some of it's boring. Well, if you're in the corner, Faith, then I would suggest gathering those other late folks and starting your own party there. I think I'm a dog healer. My son's dog has 3.5 legs. When his full front leg hurts, he comes and leans on me to rub it for him, but only me. That very well could be that you have a affinity for animals. We all can have different things and different draws as far as our gifts go of what we are naturally drawn to. It doesn't always mean that that's going to be your path. That's just one possible path that you can either be called to or not, or again, chosen by someone else. I was meant to be a successor that, here's that my mother was named medicine woman and she gained those skills and she identified that as my path. Now, do I still incorporate those teachings in my path? Absolutely. Have I evolved past that and done other things? Yes, and that's okay. But that is still part of my core that kind of evolved into wise woman because now I'm a teacher, and so I have all kinds of things in my head rattling around, and I'm drawn to teach everybody as I can. So one's path can evolve. I definitely get drained from healing people, even if I'm just with them while they experience extreme emotions. That's because you're an empath, Angelica, and do that bubble thing we talked about creating the bubble around you, and you're on the inside of it. It's whatever color you want it to be, but that way it allows you to visualize pushing outward from the inside between you and the boundaries of the inside of the bubble, and put space between you and the other person's energy so you're less likely to take it in. Yeah, I mean, the grounding and protecting thing, I definitely agree with grounding all the time. And protection, that's also kind of the bubble would also be protection, but it's a tool many people within the group have tried and it works for them. And it's one of the simplest methods I know to help protect yourself from, because as an empath, ultimately the goal is to observe, not absorb. And we naturally do absorb it. So you have to kind of put some space between you and the other person so you're not taking all that in, because then you get on overload and to where you end up not being able to function in some cases. And you have to have like a balancing time to where you take care of you, where it's just you, what you withdraw from the world for a day or whatever, a couple hours even, it's better than nothing, and you make it you time to take care of you, do something creative, whatever, in order to rebalance and focus your energy. And then you come out, it's like refilling the well so you have more to give to others. Truly your book helps me. Yep. So it can be whatever you choose it to be. I use hers to protect myself, facing outward from others. Yeah, and it's finding what's going to work for you. And so for Natalie, yours works. I've used the technique myself before at times when I thought I could use an extra layer. You can make double layer like Sandy does. It's whatever's going to be what will work for you. And my bubble needs, yeah, no, you do actually see, you once you create it and you get used to using it, it's just always in place, and then you can draw it in close to you as needed or push it out from you as needed, but it's always there, and you don't have to take a few minutes every time before you go out to put it in place. It's just part of, after a while. I draw energy with my hands, and after a few minutes my hands hurt like a mother. But where are you drawing the energy from, Karen? And you have to control the flow of energy as well. And it needs dispersing at some point. So, any questions on the topic of shamanism before we move on to Indigo Children? From person or animal, I get hands on. Okay. Well, I would say figure out a dispersal point for that when it's before it gets to the hurting point. I mean, you could be absorbing pain as well from someone, that the energy that pain creates. And that would be for you to identify if that's the case, but that could be what's causing the pain. Yeah, definite dispersal. I haven't been out in about a year now. And I've heard cases of that, of people who are extreme empaths and they become agoraphobic and afraid to leave their house because they cannot handle the energy out there. But the bubble does actually help because it does put space between you and everybody else so you're not bombarded all the time. You do absorb pain and shake it off and go right back to it. Yeah. And violet in color. And so, like, you have to, it's up to you to manage it. But again, the more frequently, excuse me, so like to start when you're first starting out using the bubble, yeah, put it in place before you leave the house to go do anything with the world. And then, just take a second to put it in place. But after that, you don't, like, you do it for a little while, it's there, it's second nature. And if you ever close your eyes to check on it, you'll see it there around you without having to create it around you. It's just in place all the time. And so it becomes part of you, part of your energetic field. Between mine or theirs over the same topic. Yeah. I'm sure that did. I mean, cancer is a pretty severe thing, Karen. Well, I'm the same way though, Sandy. I don't go out unless I have to for, running errands or whatever. And no, I'm not afraid to, but I got so used to not being able to leave the house unless I had to do something really big because of no transportation. I got kind of used to it that even after I got my own truck back, I don't go gallivanting with it just for the hell of it. So it's always if I have to go do something, I do. I'm going to try that because I also feel agoraphobia setting in. Yeah, it very much is that. Right, Mary, going to your room to get away from people. You have to recharge your batteries. And many people who are empaths naturally they are artistic to some degree. What you're artistic with, what your format is for that varies from person to person. So for some people, it's painting or writing or drawing, making music, listening to music, whatever it is for you. Um, you need that can be part of the recharge process, and in doing that it's self-care, which is again you got to have it within. You can't give to others out of an empty cup, so sometimes we got to step back and refill our cups before we can keep on giving. I'm very happy you feel that way, Angelica, and I did know you were just a big family here. I like staying at home. I wish I could more. Oh, absolutely. Not afraid, just lazy, right? Just working grocery store and home. Yeah, exactly, Mary. That's why I do doctor's appointments, pharmacy, go get groceries, come back. I place my bubble around me and my kids, my hubby, and home, and place the disco ball around that. Yeah, I mean, I have my own protection, which is the same protection I put around anyone else's that I'm helping um, for my own property, and even my upstairs neighbor and his kids and their dog. And, it's around everything that contained within that space. And, you guys know there's transients allowed through, and you guys are always like, hey, did you see that orb go by? Or did activity up behind me and stuff? And they're allowed, but they're drawn by the energy to see what's going on. And I don't worry about them because they know they can't stay. So as long as they're not being disruptive, then it's okay. Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, Sandy Angelica Miller is my admin in here. So if I'm never available for some reason, you can always go to her with any questions, problems, concerns, etc. And she is correct. We do also have a book group on Wednesday nights, which is some nights it's just hanging out and discussing. It's very relaxed. There's absolutely nothing formal about it, but sometimes we read, sometimes we hang out and talk, and whatever flows that night. I do, if I can, Karen, get things delivered. Painting and music, exactly. And that's a sign of being an empath as well, is that we tend to be artistic in nature in some way, that we have to create. And that's our way to recharge our batteries in order to, again, go back forward and help others again. So, yeah, you're welcome. And it's just like a video chat thing in the room through the group. There's a row of gray buttons underneath the group photo. If you haven't yet, to anybody who's new tonight, I would recommend just, opening them, seeing what's in there. But in the room button is where the video chat takes place for book group. It's not recorded or anything. It's very casual. You don't even have to have your camera on if you choose not to. That's fine too. Most people don't, and that's okay. But we're just relaxed in there. We hang out. We decide as a group what we're going to read next or not. And even then we can read a paragraph or two and get into a big, multi-hour discussion. It's whatever flows that night. My sisters come out and hung once. Cool. You right? Yeah. Stuff from Sloppy Joe's. That's a good recharger. Oh my God, Karen, if that was recorded, yeah. We'd be in trouble. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it doesn't get recorded at all. The video chat on Facebook is never recorded. So even if we wanted to save it, we couldn't. But yeah, it's probably better it's not. We're actually on the current book now, Natalie. You're welcome to jump in on it. It's let me pull it out of here. The Complete Guide to Psychic Development: 100 Ways to Tap into Your Psychic Potential by Cassandra Eason. And it's one of those books that she's from the UK, and she intersperses some witchcraft stuff with what she does with her practices. And if there's a short shortcut version of way of doing things with that stuff. You know, I pause and I throw in my 5 cents worth on that, and just, you know, give you guys an easier way to do it other than how she's presenting it to be. But yes, that's just one way, but it's not the only way. And sometimes one paragraph can lead into a full length discussion on the topic, especially if Mr. Edwin's present. Um, he can talk a lot with questions and comments. So my hands are very warm after trying the bubble thing. How do we know when it's big enough to cover a home? It's so for that, Angelica, I used when I put protection down, and even with your house, and you don't have to actually add a separate protection to that unless you choose to. But I use the divine sacred white light energy, and that's what I visualize covering the house and home. But it's I see it in my third eye as like a liquid form pouring down over top of everything on from the boundary line, and then I do an extra little added touch of like anything negative that might try, they get like an electrical zap, which increases in strength until they give up and go away. um they don't like that a whole lot, and they do end up giving up. It keeps them out. So anybody, like I said, who I've done that with, they never have ever come back and said that didn't work, it's back, unless they didn't follow up with their side of it and we're doing things that open doors of their own. Then in that case, I can't help it if someone undoes what I do. But if they don't and they follow through on stuff, when I check back in with them, they say they're still good. So if you want to still do something of your own, it's just visualizing it covering the property line, and underneath it, almost like you're making a dome of it. And that covers the property line, the house, the kids, any animals and cars and all that stuff. I do something a little bit separate with vehicles, because obviously you're leaving the boundary of your property with it. So it will carry with you wherever you go with your vehicle. I don't want a sloppy man unless he's a working man. Yeah, it's a different book. I mean, I don't agree with everything she presents as far as how she presents it, but at the same time, we talk about it. And so it's kind of like you can if you choose to, but here's how I do it, and this is what works for me. Try it and see which way you like best. You've heard that before. Cool. You're very welcome. And like I said, the only stupid question is the one that doesn't get asked. So even if you do some of the things, that's presented in the shamanic list, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go on to become a shaman with it. It just means you're in tune. And part of that is its core being an empath, that you can pick up and feel others' emotions and energy. Even if you're not aware that you're getting their energy, you do. You're just not used to tuning into it from that perspective, but we are. Just hope you understood what I said without me saying a word. I do understand. I know you and I hear you. Damn psychics. So, on to the next topic then of Indigo Children. Still wanting to laugh at that, Karen, because I hear you. Okay, Indigo Children. This was presented February 18th of 2019. Now, this came about by a therapist back in the 1970s, I believe. And she started noticing things. Now, some people, part of their gifts is to see auras, or like our energetic field that surrounds everybody, and everybody has different colors that stand for and mean different things, and those colors can tell the person who sees them information about the person. I personally have to work my butt off to get that to come through for me. It's not one of my strongest open gifts. I can do it, but I sense the energy more than seeing it. And this person happened to see it. And what she kept noticing is that the ones who displayed these certain characteristics, that they had a lot of indigo color in their auric fields. if that's what something she just kept seeing. Hence, that's where the term Indigo Children started from. You can go in the corner with faith if you want. It's BYOB in there, baby. Yeah, I don't know if Jasper's still in there or not. For me, I don't again see individual colors, Angelica. I sense the person's energy. So, for example, if I am connected to you in that way, or you give me permission to be, I can just kind of send out my feelers, and I will can tell if you're having a bad day, if you're upset by something, or if you're doing really well, or if you don't feel good. I get that too from somebody, and to where when I check in, then that is what I get back from them, is that information. So there are several, like Sandy Miller, for example, my lovely admin. I know when she's not doing well, and then I always message her, and she validates it. Well, no, you're right, I'm not. And then we get into, I said, here's what I think it is. And then she can go forward from there. And yep, I got an appointment. And she comes back and says they kind of validated what I picked up. That's our norm with that stuff. But I do with many others as well. So I don't see the colors. Some people do. And there is something called Carillion photography that is capable of, it said it captures the auric field in people, that will photograph them, and it picks up on the colors in their field. And that is something that some people pursue to get because they're curious. But yeah, I don't see them. If I do, it's one color at a time, which isn't a good picture way to view people. So I kind of have left it off and just focus on the energy I get back. So yeah, we do have a connection, and thank you for that permission. And yeah, so I check in with people all the time and see, how they're doing. got the liquor flowing in the corner there. So, Indigo Children, the term derived from the author Nancy Ann Toppe. I think it's Top or Toppe, but I think it's Top, in 1970s. And she described herself both as a psychic and having synesthesia, which is a neurological disorder whereby stimulation results in a color perception for some people. Some people see numbers instead. So whereas I can look at the screen and see me on the video in front of me, and they may get back numbers, kind of like the movie The Matrix. Others see colors in the place of the written word, or someone says, what is 335 times 6? They will see the answer, but it'll be in a color, and they come to understand what the colors mean, and then that's how they interpret the world. It's a way of processing it, but it's a neurological disorder. So she had that as well. You kicked yourself out of chat. I've done that before, Sandy. Got wine coolers, Jamaica Me Happy or Peach. Jamaica Me Happy. I haven't heard of that one before. And so she had this synesthesia disorder. And again, that's where she started seeing the colors in the person's auras. And the indigo was the predominant color with kids who had certain traits that she called like their life color, which was the main color in their aura. And indigos are thought to be born being like further along on their soul's journey than the average person is. So they're supposed to be here to help prepare the world, if you will, for the coming changes of the new values like love, forgiveness, etc. And I mean, we've talked many times in here about the shift that the world has kind of taking with changing, and that you have to deconstruct the existing systems and rebuild in order to reconstruct them the way, the right way. And so that it's the indigos are here to help push that along. And there are certain characteristics that an indigo has that others don't have. And we're going to go over them in a minute here. So indigos are known to have a heightened sensitivity. I smell colors, and sometimes lately I taste them. Exactly. So for her, she smells something where to us we'd be like, oh, that's sage. And we recognize the scent as being sage. She would see the smell, interpret the smell as a color that she has coming in, but know what it still stands for. Oh, a drink Jamaica Me Happy. Gotcha. So the indigos, even though they first really got identified in the 1970s. It is thought that there were those random people who came in like scouts, kind of gauging, is it the right time for them to come forward on the timeline that we're on? Is it so they're checking things out? So they may have been here before the 1970s. It's just that's when they first got identified and labeled as such. So that's something to keep in mind. You could be born in the 60s or 50s and still be an indigo and be one of the forerunning scouts that were kind of testing the waters, so to speak. But the bulk of them were getting identified in the 1970s of having been then. So they have heightened sensitivities to processed foods, chemicals, and so forth. And they bring messages forward that we shouldn't be using all the chemicals. If we truly loved one another in the earth, then we'd try to go more organic in nature with things. So they can be full of different food sensitivities or react negatively or outright allergic to different things. And it's those, I mean, we all have heard of those kids that are just allergic to the world, it seems. They could very well be an indigo. So they seem to know more, experience more, and be able, like, to be above what an average child is. Um, she said it's like an upgraded blueprint of humanity and are considered a subgroup of starseeds. Both your sons, yeah. And starseeds, I mean, we're in that theory, we all are born and made up of stardust. Essentially all the stuff of the universe exploded and ended up creating us, is the predominant theory out there. So in that case, that we are starseeds, we came from the stars, and so they are considered a subgroup of starseeds. Their auric field color is kind of like predominantly like a royal blue color, or indigo is blue purple, kind of probably similar to this color actually. So quiz time. Now, most indigos, like I said, are thought to have been born in the 1960s and 70s forward. Some do see the link between kids labeled as having ADHD, extreme allergies, upper respiratory illnesses, etc., as being indigos because of their sensitivities to the environment and the chemicals in the environment, and that they're reactive to that stuff. So many of the kids who have been labeled with those disorders are often indigo children. So 13 characteristics of being an indigo. Again, give yourself a point if you have them, or just, or maybe somebody or your kids, whatever, depending on your age. And I mean, I think all but one of them. So my aura is usually yellow-orange. I'm out. I have been told that I have a lot of white in my aura. Yes, indigo, kind of a sky bluish color at times, and like red and pink because I'm a heart person, so that kind of is reflective of that. But other colors can come in depending on my mood, which is the same for everybody. And those who see them can also see different things than other people can who see auras. It's not like a one size fits all thing where one person says you're this and that's all you ever are. It does change depending on your mood. So 13 characteristics of being an indigo child. So number 1, you feel entitled. You were born feeling special and you know it. Many as little kids feel like people should just know how you feel, and they feel completely gobsmacked when people don't respond the way they think that you should. How would you know what color you are? You can either get the Carillion photography done, Mary, and some places do that, like it's a little, sort of like those little stores in a mall type of thing. Sometimes places like that offer it. You can look it up in like online to see where it is closest to you that it's done, and they take a picture of you using the. I have done it as a topic of what Carillion photography is and contains before. I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head all of the specific details of how it's done, but it's a way with the glass reflection and some sort of a gas reaction in between it with the film that shows that. Been rogue so long. Yeah. And so like you can look it up online and say, where is someone who does Carillion photography closest to my zip code, blah, blah, blah. And that might indicate where it is. I know a lot of times people have said that they've seen those places down in the city and stuff too. I don't do cities, so not unless I have to. So the first is that you tend to feel entitled. And I do remember as a kid of being like, how do they not know how I feel? Like no one's coming to check on me with me being this upset. Why not? It just always blew my mind. Like, they're going to come looking for me anytime now, and I'm hiding and they're not going to find me, and they're going to be mad and sad because they can't find me. It was like that kind of thinking. And maybe some would label it as ego-based childlike thinking, but I don't think every child feels that way or whatever. But I definitely remember feeling that way. And it was a hard lesson for me to learn that you can't control what others say, think, or do. That's a universal law. But I always would wonder why people wouldn't respond the way that I thought they should. So it took a lot of work within myself to understand I can't control that in others. So 1 point for that. Number 2, you desired to be here. You are confident and even arrogant at times, embodied by something larger than your name. Um, the confidence doesn't necessarily start out from day one, but you stand in your sovereignty of knowing who and what you are. I get accused of that, of being egotistical by some people. I don't view it as that. I view it as I know what I know, and I am who I am, and I know what I can do, and there's surety in that. However, it's not like I'm cock of the walk about it either. I don't view it that way, at all. And I don't think I'm above anybody. You've all heard me say I'm just Donna. Don't put me on a pedestal. I don't want to be on a pedestal. But at the same time, I know and I do what I do, and I trust it completely. So there's that confidence there. You're totally out after that one. Number 3, you have high expectations for yourself and others. You see only the best and expect that of others, and others to live up to that expectation. But towards yourself, you can be unrelentingly self-critical. Like you're hard on yourself. You are a perfectionist. Some people write it off as having OCD tendencies, but you just expect more of yourself. And when you are not those things, you come crashing down on yourself, beating yourself up for not meeting that standard. That the bar can be unrealistically high, but that's where we set it for ourselves, that we have to be there, and if we're not, there's a problem. Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate that. Welcome back, Mary. So we just have higher expectations of perfection for ourselves. Yeah, you're your own worst enemy. And you talk yourself, you do a lot of negative self-talk. That takes practice and work to not reside in that place with yourself, of kind of getting to a point where you can correct it and turn it around through mindful thinking. But that's a skill you got to learn, because we still naturally want to be perfectionists. Not that we think we're perfect, but we expect perfection from ourselves. So 1 point for that. You relate to that, yeah. It's a pet peeve of mine. People have expectations of others. And that goes with the universal law of learning that, Karen, that you can't control what anyone else says, thinks, or does. That's accepted across every belief system, every religion on the world, that is valid, true information. And it's how I'm told anyway that they conduct themselves. What laws they go by on the other side is what we call the universal laws. But that's known over there, and that's how you carry yourself, and that's what's expected of you, to be that way. But here, on Earth, there's so much strife created on the planet by people trying to have that control, how others act, how others feel. Why don't you see it my way? I'm right, you're wrong, because I said so. Do it my way. Why can't you see that you're doing it so wrong? Why can't you see this? When a lot of times that can be their soul contract for them to walk the path they're on, even if it seems completely wrong to us. We don't have to like it. It's not our soul contract. I had to read all those mindful thinking books years ago in therapy. It does help. and I had to practice them. Whilst I didn't read any specific books on them, I still have to remind myself to practice that and to practice what I preach, especially because of sometimes I get out of alignment with stuff. So, but I'm a perfectionist, but don't expect anything from others. Right. But that's like a hallmark of that we set unrealistic expectations for ourselves, yet we don't expect anybody else to live up to that standard, but that's our standard for us. We have to be that or our world comes crashing down. So it is a self-imposed level of expectations for ourselves. The rest of the world doesn't do it to us, but we give it to ourselves. So number 4 is you are perceptive. Indigos see the world differently. Together with innate self-assurance, you often think your way is right and you are offended by not seeing, never mind, like someone taking action or on your point of view. So it's kind of like, you know you're right in what you know, and why can't people see the logic of that? That takes, again, reminding that you can't control that stuff, and that's the reality of it. If indigos ruled the world, you're confident no problems would exist in the world if it was done your way. And again, it's perceived as egotistical, but really from their perspective, it's not. They don't see themselves as being supremely above anyone per se. I mean, yes, you think you're special and to a degree, but at the same time, it's still not, you don't see yourself as being an egotistical person. Duct tape until they get it. Yeah, right. Duct tape fixes everything except stupidity. Stupidity, it can't fix. That's a given on that one. So number 5, you question authority. Karen, I know you're going to claim on that one. You're not one to negotiate and are certain in your views and ways that you're often rebellious and critical of those in power. I've always questioned authority, and I am going to stand in my own sovereignty that I am who I am, and I know what I know, and I do what I do, and stand up for what you believe in, even if you stand alone. That's always been my mantra from as early back as I can remember, and it has gotten me in trouble more than once, and that's okay. I still am going to stand in my sovereignty and surety, and that I am who I am, and I do what I do. Wasn't always there as far as the self-esteem as a kid, but in my adult life, yes, I've gotten there, and that's, where it's at. We do love Karen. Yes, exactly, Angelica. I always stand alone, and even if I'm the only one saying, this is not right, what are you thinking with this? I don't care how high up somebody is. A prime example of this, when I was wanting to start college as an adult student, I was told that go in this room and meet with this person. They told me their name, but that was it. So I'm like, all right, I'll go in there and talk to them. And this person kind of started, in my opinion, being kind of an ass towards me. So I got confrontational back in terms of what makes you think your school is so special that I have to jump through all these hoops to prove it to you? And what is it to you? If I fail out, that's on me, not you. So what is your problem? And after the fact, I found out that that was the president of the college I wanted to attend. Nobody told me that. Still, kind of, who do you think you are to demand that of me? That like I'm not serious. That's not for you to dictate. That's me. And again, if I fall flat on my face, that's on me, not on you. You're still going to get your money for my classes. So what does it matter to you? But like I didn't care. Once, even after I found out he was the president of the college, it was kind of like, okay, well, so what? He's still wrong. Yeah, oops, exactly. Whoops. I still ended up having to do his requirements before they would accept me into the school, but I made it well known the entire time that I thought he was bang out of line. And just to make a point, I made sure I made honor roll both semesters at the other school just to throw it in his face and say, see, that's my nature. So Um, so number 6, you want to overturn the man. Rigid systems seem foolish to you, and you can become antagonistic to what others think is normal for you. So, just because someone tells us, well, that's the way we do it here, so doesn't mean it's not going to still be done my way, because this is what I view as the right way to do it or to handle myself at. So, but you're still, again, it's that higher level, but that opposition to authority figures telling you how it's going to be. So 1 point for that. That's you. Number 7, you're creative. You can be artistically or musically gifted and allow others to see the world through your eyes. Um, it's not saying, what kind of art you might make, but that you just tend to be more inclined to be creative and to create things that comes and flows naturally to you. But people are able to gain insight to you through what you make. So 1 point for that. Thank you for joining me, little girl. Now camp out, babies. Don't worry what's going on in the other room. Stop being hyper focused. They're not doing anything. They're just camping out. Let them be warm. Exactly, a bunch of dead people telling us what to do. How dare they? Since I got older, I became awake. Right, and that is the case for many people. That once, by the time you hit middle age, you've had your awakening and are more aware. But no one's going to tell you, the way it has to be, and there is no other choice or other path. Of course, there is. So let's see. Number 8, you're a change maker. Your perceptions on the feelings of society are so keen that you make a great leader. You tend to offer better ways of having people listen and take notice to what you say. That comes natural to indigos. So 1 point for that. 9, you're a lost soul. You feel out of place with others as you recognize you're different than others. You tend to be a loner, a rebel, and are unwilling to compromise just to fit in. You're not doing it. You stand your own ground, again, even if you stand alone. But always find, like throughout school, that you just don't fit in with any one group, and you're not comfortable by compromising who you are to fit in. It's not worth it to you. It's not a popularity contest, so it doesn't matter. Exactly. And that's the point of it too, Angelica, is to point out to those who may not be aware they are, or to at least plant a seed to think about when you leave, to say, does this resonate and does it fit me or absolutely not? But it gives you a sense after you're done of saying, okay, so I do have a purpose. This is why I'm supposed to be here now. I'm not a happy accident from my parents. I'm meant to be here. So, ouch, stop standing there. You're hurting me. Get down off my leg. Thank you. So number 10, you're driven. So an indigo's soul mission is encoded into your very being, and you're unwilling to back down from confronting what feels wrong to you. Like, it's just, what's right and wrong, and you're not willing to back down on it. And so you're not going to compromise that just because somebody disagrees with you. Especially the leader part. I'm especially having to be in that position now, and I need to stop running from it because it drains me. Instead, protect myself and move forward. Absolutely. I had to recognize along the way that a lot of people look towards me for guidance to process what they're experiencing, to understand their path, etc. And there are times I may catch myself starting to be a hypocrite in certain things of, I'm procrastinating or whatever it is. And I have to self-correct and say, stop being a hypocrite here and get back in line. But again, to accept that I am a teacher and that I have this show and this is who and what I am and what I do. And there is that expectation. Again, it keeps that bar raised high that, hey, you have to be in this position of people being open to being approached whenever and however, and help those you can, but still speak my truth at all times. So it's what I do. It's what I'm driven to do, and I'll be told when the path is meant to change. But for now, and could I have seen myself doing this, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? No, I couldn't see myself having a show and all of that. And it took time to raise my self-esteem from my early years and work through all that baggage I carried from my childhood. But once I did, there was no looking back, and didn't take a whole lot of nudging from someone very close to me to say, my idea on having a show was, who's going to want to listen to me prattle on for an hour? Nobody. And they said, well, you might be surprised. So just give it a try. You might be surprised how many people are interested. And I'm like, yeah, right. Okay. And I finally did it, just kind of got, I guess, shut them up and get them off my back. And now look, 3 years later, here we still are every single week. And I've only ever missed 3 shows. So it's the way it is. So you're driven. Number 11, you're psychic. While you see nothing special in what you do per se, it gives you an advantage in reading others and seeing through masks. Yes, it does. And again, I don't have the ego to say I'm cock of the walk and I'm all that in a bag of chips. And look at me. It is that I just do what I do. And there are those of you that, yeah, I hear random thoughts from. I pick up or answer questions before you ask them, or I know what's going to be happening before you do. Sorry, just making sure who's moving in there. Yep, Sandy, it's been 3 years now that we've been doing the show. Almost 3. Well, yeah, because it started in the very first show was November 5th, 2018. Sorry, Mary. So this coming November will be 4 years. But that was episode 1, was November 5th. So, yeah, it's been a while. So again, you have natural gifts, you use them, and you use it to see through people's BS and their masks, and to read others energetically, or just knowing, or hearing random thoughts through telepathy, etc. You just know, and you reside in that surety that, it is what it is, but you don't see yourself as being all that or being anything special. And that's why I just say, I'm just Donna. I'm not like some supreme being because I do what I do, but other people are genuinely just like floored by it or feel overwhelmed by it. But to me, it's my norm because it's been my path. I own it. I integrate all my gifts as my everyday life. So it's just part of who I am, and I don't see me as anything special. So 1 point for that. Number 12, and this is the last one, is you're frustrated. You become frustrated with society and others who aren't shifting fast enough. Patience does need work. And yes, you guys have all heard me rant with that before of like, why can't they understand and see this? It's right in front of them. How long is it going to take? Chris cautions me on that all the time. Like, you got to be patient. So overall, how did everybody do? I know that Angelica definitely resonates with it. Duct tape, that's right. Can you fix duct tape or can you fix Facebook with duct tape? Yep, Karen got 3. Okay. But there are others that have other things that explain them and define them. Definitely had a handful. Got 9, got 11, got 7. So you could have been like the forerunners of them. You don't have to be, like I said, be born in the 70s. That's just when they got identified. But 60s and 70s is kind of the common baseline. I described my older son to a T. To get in the metaverse to duct tape. That's what I'm saying. Can you fix Facebook with duct tape? Right. Now, so Again, not everyone born in that time period are indigos, and the early few are thought to have been scouts to see if it was the right time to usher the rest of the souls in between a shaman and an indigo. Cool. And as adults, we always need to know why, and we don't ever accept just because. I frustrate more people because I question, and I don't stop questioning until I understand. And most people are like, "Oh, you ask too many questions." No, 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 no. I have to understand before I do something or be pushed to do something or whatever. I got to know why I'm doing it or understand what I'm doing or understand my viewpoint of how you see it in order to proceed. So, yeah, I'm going to keep asking. You don't have to like it, but if you're really uncomfortable, don't answer. But will I expect an answer? Yes. But, I don't always get one. Born with 1975, and I'm on the change team. Yeah. So, you could have some of those traits, definitely. And I see some of them in you. Um, you also, as an adult, dislike authoritarian regimes, and you're often seen as argumentative and a troublemaker. Held to the yeah all the time. You hate seeing others suffer. You often have a close affinity with animals and often develop interest in psychic or spiritual phenomena from an early age because you have it and you're trying to understand it. Of course, Karen, and we've talked about that with you before on your path that you have a lot of these, and some of them it's just maybe that you don't see yourself as others see you, but I definitely can see several of these in you. And, from knowing you as I do, yeah, you got a lot of those. More, I would say more than three. But, you have to self determine that for yourself as well, too. But that's how adults with adult indigo children tend to be with things, is that you always need to know why, and you don't ever accept just because. You don't like authoritarian stuff. You're often seen as being argumentative and a troublemaker, and you love it, you're close to animals. And again, you often kind of end up on the path of exploring spirituality and psychic stuff to understand it better. I'll never see myself as others do. Some fear me. Well, and that's always been like one of my, I guess, most thought things towards certain people, is that I really wish I could give them the gift of having them see themselves the way I see them, and then perhaps they would understand. But I can't make them see it through my eyes. But I wish I could, because then their view of themselves would change greatly. So now, to piggyback Indigo Children, I just jotted a couple notes about it because we haven't ever done a formal show. It was on the table for quite a while, but it just never got voted on for crystal children and rainbow children, of what they are and how to identify them. A lot of people don't, and it's normal. We always see ourselves as less, and we're always our harshest critic and self-doubting and so forth. But when you stand in the sovereignty and the surety of who you and what you are, I mean, I'm not saying I don't have my days. I absolutely do. But overall, like I said, I know what I know and I do what I do. But I don't see myself as being outstandingly special or otherwise. I just am sure of what I can do. And I trust it. So crystal children are born between 1990 and 2010 and are often born to indigo children. And they have their own set of traits and qualities as well, different from indigos. There is a few crossover traits, but it is still a bit different. Rainbow children, they were born oftentimes from crystal children. As adults, they grow up and they have babies, and from the year 2000 on, and they have their own sets of traits as well. And some are thought, like the crystal children, that's when we really started seeing a high rate of autism come up and be identified. Don't want to be anyone in the ER. Don't want anyone in the ER. Exactly. Um, we started seeing high rates of autism. And it's also thought that crystal children, that was part of their mission, is to teach others to find new ways to communicate, because autistic people who are on the spectrum have, unless you're super high functioning, they're kind of caught in their heads. They're very intelligent, they're very gifted, but they don't possess the means to express it outward. And so, in order to better understand them, you have to learn other means to communicate. And sometimes it's simply energetically or telepathically, things of that nature. So, the rainbows follow the crystal children and are usually the offspring of the crystal children. So, I mean, if that's something you guys are interested in the show topic, of course, I'm happy to research it and present it. It just never got voted on enough, and I ended up taking it off the table. But we have had it on the table before. So, again, each set has their own, and many people who are parents of crystal children and so forth, we very much can see our kids in that spectrum of what the qualities of it is. It's like, oh yeah, no. And my daughter, she has some of those of being a crystal child, and others she's way off base on. So I'm not 100% sure with her, but I would say overall fits the mold of it. One of my longtime friends is raising two autistic children. Right. And that's when it really started getting identified, is with those children born from 1990 onward. It became a thing of creating and identifying the spectrum. Kept voting on exactly, Sandy. So I ended up kind of dropping it off the table, but it is interesting. So those they end up having their own traits, and sometimes it's easy to identify because of their being your kids. And if you are a known indigo and and understand it, it's easier, I think, in raising them to recognize it and then relate to them in kind, to know what they're here for, what their mission is, and how they view the world. But if you have a difference in personality types and you don't resonate with being an indigo, you can still have a crystal child or a rainbow child and not having been an indigo or a crystal to begin with. And you can still bring forth one of those souls into existence. And I think it's useful to understand those traits, to deal with them accordingly, to raising them the best you can, and understanding their mission and their path. But again, depends on the interest of it. Oh, cat crossing. She finally got the eldest in the school specifically made for autistic children. Later in life, he will be a resident there. We have a similar place here. It's not just for autistic children, but children with, bigger disabilities that aren't capable of being in a typical classroom setting. But yeah, it's a wonderful school from everything I know and I've heard of it, and gives those children as normal of a childhood as possible. But it's a whole, what do they call it? Campus of like different buildings and different things for different types of and housing, and all that's all located on this massive piece of property. So it's a good thing. You vote, Crystal. Yeah, I mean, we can certainly, and it just because we're choosing to go back and redo some of the older topics does not mean at any time we can't diverge off on covering a new topic in there interspersed. That's fine too. Love to hear more on both. Well, if you do want me to cover Crystal and Rainbow Children, then I know Sandy's interested, Karen and Natalie are, and Chris. Yes, I would combine both, Chris, absolutely. And I did make a post today in the group that talks about like an indigo, but the second half of the article, it's like a link to it. It's in the guide section under spirituality. And it'll take you to or open the link to it. But it's a whole article where she does cover some of the main characteristics and traits of them to give you an idea about it. But yeah, we can cover it if people are interested. She went through 2 attorneys to get him where he needs to be. He's nonverbal and beats himself in the face. Yeah, and again, it's about once you reduce the frustration they experience, they're less likely to have that kind of violent outburst behavior. I mean, I can't imagine never being able to be understood or be able to communicate with anyone and have people understand you. That's got to be horribly frustrating. So with these kids, yeah, they got special needs that need adjusting around and understanding for. So you guys can let me know if that is something predominantly you would like me to do, and we'll throw it in there. And otherwise, if there isn't a majority rules thingy with it, then like next week we would be delving into um, Starseeds. What is a starseed? Which I talked a little bit about tonight. And what's after that? Let's see. Well, duh, look on the cover. It's easier. The next two topics that are in this book are starseeds and near-death experiences. But if you want to take a side journey into the Crystal and Rainbow Kids, we can. But, you know, majority rules. The pandemic made it worse since he wasn't getting what he needed. The pandemic is really wetting kids in nerd. What? They're hurting kids with needs. Okay. I was like, wait, what? Yeah. And it's, you know, if you understand that perhaps they are one of those children, where they come from with their behaviors makes more sense in order to deal with them appropriately, I think. Your son did this, he hurt himself. Yeah. I love the starseed topic. Yeah, because we are going to still recover everything in this notebook because these are from the first year of the show. So they're not archived anymore. We lost those. So they're still going to be recovered, but we could cut in to finish that topic next week with doing Rainbow and Starseed, or Crystal and Rainbow Children, and then come back into it with Starseeds because it's all interrelated, really. So we have 12 watching. So, I mean, either way, NDEs and Starseeds would be covered in the next 2 weeks. So how many out of the 12 in here want the Crystal and Rainbow Kids next week? And we'll do a head count here. I know Sandy Griffin is one. She wanted it. Hey, Renee, you're coming in towards the end here, sister. Kim says yes. Okay. Karen says yes. Chris says yes. Sandy, I've got you already. Okay, says Tanya. Natalie says yes. Marianne says yes. So there's 7 out of the 12. Renee has no clue what we're talking about. Anybody else want to cover that for next week and then jump back into the archives after? Or we go forward with the archives and just add it on to the list at some point to do it. Katie says yes. Okay. There's 13 in here now. You got to be different. Angelica says yes. So that's 9. So definitely the majority there is saying yes to this. Okay. So next week I will go and research and present because I haven't done them yet. I mean, I know what they are. However, in depth for a presentation format, no, I don't have that down pat, but you know, I know the gist about them. So let me make a note here to myself to transfer it to the current Willows Ben notebook. Cover these for week of. Yeah, that's why I was saying I don't mind stopping the archive coverage to include these because they're part of it. So this would be on, see, today's the 31st, so it would be on the show the 7th. So 2-7 show. Got it. Alrighty, and then we would go forward back into the archives and pick up covering Starseeds and near-death experience stuff. So there we go. That will be the plan, my lovelies. So we have book group this Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, for those who aren't used to coming in or whatever, you can get in through the event notice or in through the group of the in the rooms button, and at the very top of the list it'll be like a green join button on the right hand side. That's the most recent one to hit to come into it. Give it a minute because sometimes it takes a minute to click it to get you into it, but at least mine does. But everybody's welcome. That's fine. Yeah. So we'll be covering all that stuff. And or you can also get in by, if someone has trouble getting into the book group but really wants to be, then just message one of us and we'll invite you in that way, because there's always a way to get somebody in. We figure it out. And then next Monday we'll be into February already, which is crazy. January just kind of whizzed by, and I know I say that all the time because my time is fluid. It's not straight line most of the time, and that's how it is on the other side too. But most people, we go on the straight timeline. It's never straight, but it goes by really fast. So yeah, to me, I'm just like, wow, it's February already, but not much closer to spring. So hey. Really, it seemed to drag for you? Yeah, and I actually had that talk earlier tonight with somebody about like how do they handle it with, because they perceive it more fluid like as well, but they spaz and freak out if they perceive themselves as running behind with stuff and they get all stressed out and panicky. And I'm like, well, just understand technically you're in control of that. So stop yourself and take a couple deep breaths and get centered and focused to lower the stress levels, to remember that you are in charge of the flow of it and go at it from that way. 2022 is going slow for me. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Karen. That sucks. Yay, spring. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be in bulk soon on the 3rd, I believe. So, yep. Happy Chinese New Year. You're the tiger or tigress. You're just watching them. You know what? They're not doing anything, little girl. They're not coming out at you. They're not accessing anything that belongs to you. So you can share and let them be. They just, want to be warm and have food and water and be comfortable. You wouldn't want to go stay outside in the snow. I can guarantee that. Your chubby bubby butt would be like, let me back in. So anyway, maybe it was me counting down to my vacation last week. Were you on vacation last week? Good night, Miss Stacy. I love you. And thank you, Faith, also for popping in tonight. It's good to see you again. It's always good to see you. Rawr. Rawr. Thank you for being so welcoming. I feel a complete 180 as compared to when I came in. And I'm very glad you do. And it's not just promoting my group, it's what everyone else has made it to be. So, and I don't tolerate any of the other crap in here. It doesn't belong. So that's not allowed. I had a week off last week. I didn't know that. Well, hopefully you did at least something semi-special for yourself. And I will say, Karen, I gave little girl a can of the food that you sent for them tonight. I mean, I split it up between the 3 of them, but she literally ate everything in that bowl that I gave her. There was only maybe 2 pieces I picked up off the bed, and that's what's left. And she never, ever cleans her dish. So she really liked that. She normally just eats the gravy. So you're onto something there. I'll have to keep that in mind next time I buy food. Oh, that sucks. I do remember you talking about the rash and stuff in the fall, but I didn't know you were off last week. So, yeah, no, she mowed it. I mean, they of course do, because they'll eat anything I put in front of them because they're always starving. But for a little girl to eat it too, it's like she was guarding that stuff too. The others kept trying to, again, no boundaries, come up and see, hey, if you don't want that, I'll eat it. And every time I look behind me, she was still munching away at it. So, but I do buy the dry food of that, the indoor cat formula for the dry food if it's available. But I don't think I've ever gotten the canned food from it because it's never in the store when I shop. But gonna definitely be on the lookout for it. Oh yeah, definitely. Well, at least you didn't have to work whilst having the rash and recovering from your falls. So those are good things. So anyway, I will see those who are interested in book group for Wednesday night, and the rest next week for Willows Bend on the 7th, 8 p.m. Eastern time. As always, same time, same bat channel. And thank you all for coming, and love and light to all of you. And many blessings on the coming week if I don't talk to you again relatively quickly. Keep the wet for her. Well, I have to feed her separately because then she is always fighting them off. So what I've been doing is staggering the feedings, and they get her leftovers at any time, but I feed her later at night now so that she's sure to have it just for herself without defending her food. Um, so yeah, that's how I've been handling it. But tonight I split the can in three and fed them in there and put her food at bowl on the bed with me to keep an eye, closer eye on her, and to lure her out of the bedroom, or not the bedroom, but the other room, into my room, to where she would leave them alone. So that was my plan. Hidden agendas and all. So anyway, many blessings. I love you all, and I will see you guys around Facebook land. Good night.